Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Anywhere You Need. Tonight, I'm with Micaela, one of my students from when I was in Singapore. So she is from Singapore, but she lived in different countries, right?
I have. I've lived in Taipei, Malaysia, and now London.
And now London. So now she's a student at Queen Mary University of London, and she is a third-year student, right, in an LLB, so studying law in the UK. So we're going to explore together, the law studies in the UK. As an international student, what was her experience coming from Singapore to the UK? And studying a law degree in the UK is quite unique, and the opportunities afterwards are very, it's not just law. Lots of students do other things. So we're going to try to understand what's the purpose of studying law as well as an undergraduate degree, why it can be a good option for some students, and what are the opportunities afterwards. All right, so let's start with high school. Okay, you can trip back to memory lane. What did you think about when you were in high school? Did you think about law? Did you think about other subjects? And how did you end up choosing law and the UK?
So I think from a very young age, choosing a career path in law has been encouraged towards me by my parents, my relatives, my siblings, everyone. And so I was never opposed to the idea of studying law. But as I grew older and I was exposed to taking different subjects like psychology, economics, I started to drift it away from the idea of studying law. But in the end, I chose the path for it.
You still chose law.
Yeah, I did.
All right. And why the UK? So we know that in North America, you can't study law right away. Mm-hmm. So for law as an undergraduate degree, the US or Canada was not an option.
No.
So why the UK?
I mean, I think my siblings went to uni in the UK. Okay. So my two older sisters, one was in Bristol, one was in Ireland. So they were very encouraging, and they were telling me how your experience in the UK, your uni life will be so memorable and so enjoyable. Just study law there.
So family tradition. Almost.
Yeah. But also the legal system in the UK has very much influence over Singapore legal system. So for me, it was just a smarter idea because in the end, I do want to return to Singapore. So.
I think that's a very good point that Micaela is bringing here is based on the country you're from, it's always good to look at how recognized the degree or the country you want to study in will be when you return. I know for some jobs like medicine, Singapore has a very specific list, for example, of university degree that would be directly recognized when you go back. Sometimes there's partnerships. We know with France, there's partnerships with Quebec, with other countries in the EU, in Europe. So it's always, of course, and I guess that relationship between Singapore and the UK is quite strong.
Yeah.
And so studying a degree there is good to coming back afterwards. Okay. So we'll talk about the degree a little bit. How much did you know about law before joining the university? Did you actually understand what you would be studying for 3 years, or was it a jump in the unknown?
Like every other clueless, delusional young student that wants to pursue law, they're very influenced by Netflix TV shows like Suits or whatever else there is. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I knew it was a lot of reading. I knew it was very time consuming, and you had to put not all your energy, but you had to be very focused and disciplined to study the subject. For my preparation before uni, I must admit I did not do much preparation. I maybe bought some books. I never opened them. But I did do an internship in my junior year, so year 12.
Okay, so your last year of
the year before.
Yeah, so grade 11.
Grade 11.
Year 12 in the British system.
Yeah, so I did an internship that summer, and that was kind of an interesting experience because we were in COVID, so it was an online internship. They did give me materials. You're kind of thrown in the deep end, do this, follow this task, and then you'll get the hang of it. Not like hands-on teaching, guiding. So that was my only preparation, I would say. That
Exposure to
yeah.
law. Okay. And so did you feel like a law degree would be a good foundation as an undergraduate degree?
100%. I definitely do agree. I have come to realize, in being in final year, that the skills that I've obtained over the last few years are so transferable. They're into whatever field besides medicine.
You're not going to be a scientist.
Yeah, no STEM.
Yeah.
In terms of dedication, commitment, and discipline, and critical thinking specifically, those skills I have been able to develop and continue to challenge, I would say. So I'm very grateful for studying law, even if I don't want to be a lawyer in the end.
And so what to expect in a law degree in the UK, like in your first year? How many hours a week? What are the courses? What do you study? How do they evaluate you?
So for different unis, they have different modules that you can take per year. Again, different unis, their first year doesn't count. Whereas at Queen Mary, our first year is worth 10%, second year 30%, and then final year.
For your final grade, overall grade. Okay.
Yeah. So in first year, it was a big change. It was a big shocker. I did contract law, public law, land law, and 2 modules, EU law, which was a half module, and then another one called long context. Long context was very helpful to just as like a preparation to get into the course, how you should cite, how you should just the way in writing they expect, and how you should format all your essays and the marking system. So it was definitely a big change.
Big change, yeah.
A lot of reading. Yes. In first year, I had the pleasure of having all my classes in one day, a Monday.
Really?
Specifically.
Yes, that's a big thing in the UK where families are sometimes surprised because tuition fees are not cheap for international students, and the number of hours is quite low.
Yeah.
Right? So you would say in one day you had your week.
Yes.
So it meant that you only had 7 hours a week? 8 hours a week?
For in-person classes at the time, because it was just COVID. It was like COVID. I would go to classes once a week, and then all my lectures would be online.
Okay, that's because your lectures were online.
Yeah. My lectures are.
So that's not the norm.
Yes, but in second year, my classes spanned over 2 days.
And they were all back in class.
They were all back in class. Your lectures were in person as well, but they were recorded. I am one where I've learned better if I watch the recording, just because I can speed it up. I can go back to it. And also it's fitted my timetable much better, considering that all of my classes were in one day. And then I would have like a lecture for a class that I had the day before, a week before. So I would like to do it right before the class, I would say. But
so you were not in class that much?
No, I really wasn't. I would go to the first few weeks, or to revision lectures. Those are the most important that I would say you need to go. But I think you just have to see what works for you. Like, some people learn better in person. Some people learn better watching a recording and being able to hear them properly, rather than being at the back of the lecture hall and not being able to fully understand what they're saying. So. And
did you have also smaller kind of group sessions where you had to attend?
Yeah. So those were mandatory. Attendance was required. The classes size is actually, in my opinion, like as good as it can get, unless you're in Oxbridge and your class ratio is 1-to-1.
Yeah, 1-to-1. Yeah.
But my classes, I think the max number of people I had was 15 in one class, unless you're doing a seminar module, which is maybe 30 students in a class. Okay,
so that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another point I want to raise that Micaela mentioned and that students are not necessarily aware is in the UK, for your undergraduate degree, you're going to get an overall grade for your bachelor degree, which is going to be 2.1 or 1.1, what is different levels that they have. And what Micaela was saying is that some universities don't count the first year, meaning there's no pressure in the first year because your overall bachelor grade is not going to be affected, even if the first year the transition is difficult and the first year is not, you're adjusting. But some universities like Queen Mary will still take the grades for the first year into consideration. So 10%, you said?
Yeah.
So I hope it was okay for you.
It was way better than I expected.
Okay.
Considering that I struggled with one particular module, my overall in the end was a 2-1. So I was pretty satisfied with that.
So, and you, for the first year?
For the first year.
Okay.
So,
and what about the bachelor, do you think?
I mean, everybody's aiming for a first, but being a final year, I think everything is way harder, and my time management hasn't been that great this year.
Okay.
Just because of the amount of work.
Yes. But it probably it evolves, I guess, from year to year.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So if we go back, well, I'm just going to move on first to if you don't have that many classes, if you don't have that many in-person classes, how do you make friends?
Especially being in London, I think compared to going to a campus uni or a small town uni, London is a very difficult place to make friends because you really have to put yourself out there. And especially coming into uni where some students hadn't even come to campus yet because they couldn't due to COVID tests or whatever it is. I made friends, luckily, through friends that I knew from Singapore or friends of friends, or like my flatmates or people that lived in my building, my accommodation at the time. So it really depends on how far you're willing to push yourself and putting yourself into very uncomfortable situations. I remember in first year, because the only class that we had was the seminars or the tutorials and not lectures, the first person I sat next to, I just became their friend. Like I made an effort to be like, oh, hi. And I would never do that because I'm really scared, but
you had to.
I had no choice.
Did you join any clubs or any?
I did. I was part of the Law Society. I was part of the Commercial Awareness Society.
What do you do in the Law Society?
It's student-led, so they basically host different events that are very beneficial towards your career if you want to pursue law, or in terms of
guests and lectures.
We have guest lectures, we have mooting competitions, we have negotiation competitions. Like it's a very good society to be in if you're a law student, of course. And it also gives you more exposure to be surrounded by other students that you may not necessarily be in a class with because the class sizes are so small.
So do you have the same students in every class, or does it change? Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's not like the same group all the time.
But I do prefer that because in class, when you have your discussions and people are saying their point of view or their arguments, it's better to hear from not just the ones you know, but people from a million different backgrounds.
And so what is the background of students? Is it very international, Queen Mary as a university? Did you have a lot of British students or lots of international students? Was it
I think it was quite balanced, I would say. Queen Mary itself is very diverse. We do have a lot of London residents. But the majority of international students, I would say, that I've personally met are Europeans. So yeah, in first year, I did not meet a single Singaporean.
No?
I was very surprised. No Singaporeans were in my classes.
Any other Asian countries represented?
Honestly, I had okay, maybe Hong Kong. Like one guy. One guy in all my classes. That's what I remember.
Wow, okay.
But in third year, the modules that I have selected, all the Singaporeans and Malaysians and Hong Kongs are popping up in my classes. So.
Okay, why? Because
I think we all have the same corporate mentality.
Okay, so it's corporate law?
I do. This year is very business focused.
Okay.
So I'm doing company, tax, commercial, consumer, and mandatory module, which is jurisprudence.
Okay. So in third year, you can choose a lot more.
Yeah.
What you want.
In second year, you can choose one extra module or two if they're half modules. And then third year, you just have one compulsory module. and three to six that you could take, depending on whether they're half or full.
Okay, good. And so in your first year, you lived in residence. Was it like a Queen Mary student residence?
Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get
Space,
accommodation in time because I accepted too late and quite late, I mean. And I also had my IB grades remarked. I stayed, but I was really fortunate because my private accommodation ended up being right on my campus.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was quite convenient.
So it was not a student building?
It was a student building.
But a private accommodation?
But a private accommodation.
Okay, so it was still like a student residence. It was just not part of the...
Yeah.
Not officially part of...
Not officially part of the... Yes.
Okay, so that's another way to make friends.
Yeah.
And connect.
A lot of international students in that accommodation.
Okay. So if we go back a bit towards high school students that would be thinking about law, there's different countries they can think of course, but what subjects did you choose? So Micaela did the IB diploma. What subjects, higher level, standard level, did you choose?
I did higher level economics, psychology, and biology. Standard level mathematics, analysis and approaches, Spanish ab initio, and English language and literature. So I think I'm very happy that I chose those subjects, especially for my higher levels, because now coming into law, a lot of what I've learned in economics and a bit of the case studies that I've learned in psychology are all applicable to my modules at uni.
You feel like the two subjects that prepared you the best to be a successful student in law were
economics and psychology, 100%. If I'd taken politics, that would have been even
the trio.
Yeah.
I don't think you can take the three in the IB at a high level.
Yeah, if you're doing A level.
Yeah, I guess as an A level students you could. Yeah, so in the French system, it would probably be what we call SES, which is the economics and social sciences. And then we have HGSP, which is history, geography, geopolitics, and politics. So these would probably be the two subjects that would be the closest to a law degree.
Yeah. So they could.
They can take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's even a law option that you can take in grade 12.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have met a few students who said, I studied law for A level. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Each high school curriculum has different opportunities. So what would be your advice for a high school student that is thinking about law, and maybe, as you said, they watched, TV shows where you see these lawyers are very powerful and that are very cool, and so they're thinking, that seems to have different careers. What would be your advice?
I think that even if you're not 100% set on pursuing a law career and you're still on the fence about what you actually want to do, studying a law degree would be very beneficial to whatever you decide to do in the end.
Afterwards,
yeah.
So what kind of student do you think would be happy and thrive in a law degree?
Happy?
Not happy, but like... Yeah, like...
Would thrive? I think who's very disciplined. If you know how to balance your work and balance your time and make sure that when you need to get something done, you get it done on time, you'll be fine. So
that's probably applicable to most.
That's true.
Most degree, but so in terms of the intellectual
I think
interest,
anybody could do that.
You think?
I think so. If you have enough commitment to the subject, I think anybody could do law. I say this to my friends all the time, that law is all about critical thinking, and it's not like some people can't. Like that, everybody can critical think. It just depends on how you apply them and where your strengths lie. But for me, I am not the best. I was not the best academic in high school, and now I am doing way better at university than I ever did in high school, and I'm still studying a law degree, which is why I say anyone can study law if they are determined to do well in that subject.
Okay. And so, so a student that is curious about, like a student that would be thinking, I could be studying politics, international relations, I could be studying law, I could be studying, how do they choose?
I think you have to do your research. I'm just kidding.
That's what I tell students all the time. Do your research.
Yeah, I didn't do mine. Yes, you do have to do your research in terms of each uni holds different modules within a politics degree or a law degree. My favorite thing about Queen Mary was the option to do tax law or the option to do competition law, which is very relatable to economics. So even though I thought about doing economics, I thought about doing psychology, like I ensured that even though I am studying law, I still am able to apply gather my interests within the subject that I'm studying. But if you're deciding between politics and law, I think I would say law.
You think it opens more doors, maybe?
Yeah.
Could you do, because I have students that are doing, for example, a BSc in politics or international relations at UCL or LSE, and then they can do a BSc in economics as a master's degree. Can you do that with a law degree, or it's not a BSc, right? It's an LLB. So do you have quantitative courses as well, like statistics and
Absolutely.
So zero math.
Zero math. Maybe the most you'll get is a percentage or like the sum of the cost.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be eligible for
I wouldn't know.
Quantitative master's degree.
Yeah. So if you want to go into a field that's very outside of STEM, but in terms of like mathematical analysis and computing and all those professions, and you want to go into something like banking, where your skills of interacting with people, your skills of being able to think quick, think fast, and what's the word, like, I don't want to use critical analysis again, like thinking critically.
Yeah.
Like a bank or a marketing degree.
And so what are you thinking about after? So you can do so many things after law. I have lots of friends that study law as an undergraduate degree in the UK and are not lawyers.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about lawyers first.
Yeah.
If you want to, how does it work? If you want to become a registered official lawyer in the UK, after your bachelor degree, what do you have to do?
In the UK, if you have studied an undergrad law degree, you can choose two routes. You can choose the solicitor's route and take their qualifying exam. So that's the SQE, which is 2 exams over the course of 1 year. Or if you do it part-time because you have to work, it'll be across 2 years. The barrister route,
And at the same time, you have to do an internship, I believe.
Yeah, you can do internships. Yeah. You should do internships. You should still apply for training contracts if you haven't received one already. So that's one route. The barrister route is, I'm not too familiar with that because I have chosen the solicitor's route.
Okay.
So I know that barrister means you go to court. So
yeah, so if you want to be a lawyer in a court, then it's the barrister route,
which is a completely separate.
Different.
Yeah. You can attend like mooting, advocacy training, and all these courses that are provided by other universities.
Yeah, so after a law degree, I think we could look at 4 maybe big ways. You can either go for the solicitor route, which is with the exams and getting a contract after your LLB. You can go to the barrister route to actually go in a court and become that kind of lawyer. You could probably continue studying law if you want to study law as an academic subject and maybe do a PhD and become a professor, for example. Or you could just do something else.
Yes.
And go into a business school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I was always very determined in pursuing law. Now that I've gotten to my final year, I'm more leaning away from practicing. So my other option would be to go into banking, maybe sales and trading. Even though I have no qualifications or experience under that route, with a law degree, it helps you in terms of just being able to be meticulous and like just applying what you're going to be taught, whether it's on the job or during a graduate scheme, very quickly to whatever is needed to be done.
Yes, you wouldn't be on the side that has the numbers. You would be on the
strategy,
legal side and strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so your friends, do you see them all thinking about different paths, or?
I think I am the only one that I know of.
Yeah.
As of now, a lot of my friend in Cambridge, she's very set on practicing law.
So she's studying law as
She's studying law as an undergrad. And even she's struggling. So
to choose.
yeah,
Too many opportunities.
yeah, way too many opportunities.
Well, which is good.
She has too many interests. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
and another point that I'm gonna raise is that I have a student that studied a Bachelor of Law in France, and is still doing the exam SQE. Yeah, so you can, even with a bachelor from another country, you can go for the SQE if you find a contract and then prepare for your exam and pass your exam. You could still qualify in the UK.
Yes.
Without studying an LLB. So you don't have to study an LLB to become a solicitor.
You can study any course that you want.
Yeah, in any country you want.
In any country that you want. You just have to go through a course called the GDL.
Yes.
So.
And it's not a master's.
It's not a master's. No. It's 3 years. It's like an LLB compressed into 2 years. So if you want to take that.
All right. So now let's talk a bit about London universities. So in London is always very popular for international students. When they think about the UK, they're always like, oh, I want to go to London. We have Imperial, we have LSE, we have UCL, we have King's, we have Queen Mary, we have Royal Holloway, SOAS, and there's many of them, right? It's probably 20 of them or more. How did you choose? And Queen Mary, and then we can talk maybe about the LNAT test.
Oh gosh.
So some LLB, so some law degree requires students to take a test in the UK called the LNAT, that you can only take once in your final year of high school, and some universities don't ask for that test.
Yeah. So
what was your strategy, and how did you?
Queen Mary, thankfully, did not require an LNAT. The LNAT is, I think, one of the worst exams that I had ever taken at that time.
Most difficult?
It was the most difficult. I didn't actually know what I was getting myself into. And the LNAT themselves, they don't have many past papers. And if you wanted to get more papers, you would have to pay for a course. So the preparation for that was already lacking.
Books, maybe?
Yeah, you can get books, but
Yeah.
again, you're paying.
Yeah, you have to.
You're paying.
Yeah. Online is not that much.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the process for that was the exam itself was very strenuous. It was very long, in my opinion. However, the LNAT is an insight into how you have to critically think at uni and how you have to answer your questions and how you have to just apply things at uni. So that gave me a little insight. So it's still interesting to look at the test and prepare for it and try to understand. Yeah. And so, yes, some universities, I know Warwick doesn't ask for it. Edinburgh, I think, doesn't ask. Exeter doesn't ask.
Queen Mary.
Nottingham does.
Okay.
So, and Bristol and Cambridge.
Yeah.
But one thing to note about the LNAT is some unis care only about the multiple choice section, and other unis bear more weight on the essay. But it's very unclear which unis do what. So that's what I found difficult.
Yeah. So in your list, which universities did you apply?
That required the LNAT?
No, in the UK.
I applied to Queen Mary, Nottingham, Exeter, Warwick. Was it Leeds?
So you had 2 with LNAT or 1?
1 with LNAT.
Only 1 with LNAT.
Yeah, I was very strategic.
Yeah, so I always tell the students, take at least 1 non-LNAT school, if not 2. Some students take 3, and Micaela took 4 non-LNAT schools. So not taking any risk. So if you don't have to take the LNAT, of course, you have more control about the chances you have to get in, because you know the grades, your predicted grades, you know what the entry requirements are, and you're more likely to get that offer than if you take the LNAT, because it's an exam where you don't get your result before you apply.
Yeah.
So that's stressful.
That is very stressful. You get it maybe when you get into uni. So.
Yeah. So you passed the test when?
I don't know if I passed.
You took the test. Like in September,
I took the test
August?
in December.
Okay, so much later.
Yeah, much later.
Yeah. And then you
But
go,
I took it in year 12. So did I
oh, you're 13.
did I do it?
Yeah, you can, it has to be the academic year.
Oh
where you
yes,
apply.
sorry. I took 12th grade.
Yes, grade 12.
Grade 12.
Okay, yeah. So you took it in December and then you didn't get your result,
No.
submitted your UCAS application, and then you got your result only in like March or
Yeah.
February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get your results after you submit your UCAS.
Yes.
So for medicine, it's not the case. You take the UCAT and you get your result right away. So you can adjust your list based on your score.
Mhm.
For the LNAT, I don't know why they're doing that, but basically you apply blind. So it's very risky to have 5 UK universities with LNAT, because if there's a section that you don't do well in, you might be cut out of the 5 universities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very hard exam, especially to take at that age.
Yeah. So order books,
Order books, get courses.
get
do it.
courses, and basically spend your summer on it if you
Yeah.
want to have a chance for competitive universities.
That is a regret I have. I didn't
Yeah.
spend enough time.
On the LNAT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why in the UK, it's always a strength to know early what you want to study for students that would enter grade 11 knowing what they want to study.
Yeah.
That's going to be much easier for them because they're going to have that time to prepare. I think for you, maybe you decided a bit later
Mhm.
on, okay, let's do it. And then you took your LNAT a bit later. You were already, in your academic year, you're 13.
Yeah.
That's probably didn't help.
I had other desires.
Priorities.
Yes.
All right. And do you hang out with other students from other unis? Does it mix? Or is it like Queen Mary together and the King students are together and the LSE students are together?
As an international student, I think the benefits of living in London is you're bound to have friends from home be in the same city as you. So, and like that's the beauty of London, is that all the unis do integrate with one another in terms of the social scene or a society or club scene. So, yeah, I have loads of friends from King's who don't study law, but we have similar interests, whether that be sport or job applications, you decide. So, yeah, even Freshers Week, when you do go to Freshers Week, you don't have to stick with Queen Mary. You have the ability to attend other uni.
Part of the University of London.
Part of the uni.
Yeah. So University of London is the umbrella institution that covers King's, LSE, Queen Mary, SOAS, Royal Holloway, and so many.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so you can attend events from other.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Some club events, they do host it 2 unis together. I think ours was with SOAS when I was in first year, I think. But it'll be King's and UCL, LSE, and Imperial. Like they always combined events for that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the advantage of being in London. You can access students from other institutions. And so what do you think about Queen Mary? What are the strengths? What are the things that maybe were more difficult transitioning as an international student?
I think transitioning as an international student, there isn't much support given by the university to students who are coming on their own, living on their own, like unknown to what's out there. A strength about my uni is, specifically in my course, is the teaching. I really do think that the teaching at Queen Mary is strong. And any doubts that I have had, I would like to say none. There's always an instance where you would have an issue, but at the very most, I wouldn't have an issue contacting my professors, scheduling a meeting, and organizing networking events as well with that, in terms of talking about career paths or a master's or whatever it is. So Queen Mary Law is very strong. The course, the material that you study, the teaching that you get, the students that you meet, and just the environment that you're set in, it just motivates me and encourages me to want to do well. But yeah, there's a lot of support on the academic side. Another flaw I would say is, this might be with not just Queen Mary, but we don't really get our feedback fast enough, I would say.
On like exam?
On exams or
Tests, yeah.
formatives, essays, or coursework, whatever it is, they do take a while to get back
But
to
you do get.
But you do get it.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends on the type of professor you have. There's always that one-off of not very useful feedback, but you can always go to another professor who's not your specific teacher and ask them for their opinion, and they're more than welcome to assist.
Okay, so the quality of teaching is a strength.
Yeah.
And what about
the area?
Yeah. Anything else is because Singapore is a very, very safe city-state. So
Yeah.
I think anywhere in Europe would feel a bit unsafe for someone coming from Singapore. But
Yeah.
what about?
When I first got to Queen Mary, it was a shock. It was because it's more in East London. It doesn't necessarily feel like London sometimes. So you hear a lot of stories about stabbings or mugging or all these things. But Queen Mary's campus is very safe, I would say. It's gated. The gates close at 8 p.m. You're not allowed to enter if you don't have a student ID. The security guard is on site 24/7. So like I do feel safe when I'm on the campus.
Okay.
When you step foot outside the campus, it did get a little bit of getting used to. But now I can confidently say I appreciate Mile End.
Yeah.
The food, the people around, the things you can do. There's a park that you can go by.
You need to be street smart and
Yeah,
learn a few.
You do have to be street smart, but I think that's just London in general,
Yeah.
not just.
And yeah, most main cities.
Yeah, most. But yeah, it was definitely a shocker. But now it's made me become more alert and aware of my surroundings as compared to Singapore, where I can just walk down the street, headphones on, music on, not a care in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's character development.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is character development. It's good to be aware of that before you make that big jump into the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay, so very strong academics. And what about job opportunities and internships? I know in the UK sometimes I have students that don't have the opportunities for internships. There's some countries where they push students in year 1, in year 2, in year 3 to do like summer internships and get some kind of work experience.
Yeah.
And in the UK, sometimes I have students that tell me, oh, I'm finishing my bachelor, I've done 0 days of work experience, unless they took a sandwich year and took a full year of working. What about law students? What's the kind of rhythm, the norm? How did you get any?
Law students are on it.
Yes.
I would say majority of law students are they're on it all the time. So for me, I would have definitely not been as on top of getting internships and experience or inside days as I would have been if I hadn't been part of a society and been surrounded with people who were constantly trying to pursue an internship. So in first year, you're able to sign up for inside days, which is 1 day or maybe 2 to 3 days at a firm that you apply to. And that's all you basically need to do for first year. I didn't know about inside days until after the deadline had passed.
Oh.
So
that's why you need to go on campus
that's
sometimes.
why I do need to go to campus. I am on campus. I lived on campus.
That's true.
We don't have classes then. Don't forget.
That's true. It was COVID.
Yeah. But I was lucky enough to get an internship in the summer of first year.
And so the university gives you like a contract that you can use to get that internship. How does it work? You're still under as an international student. You can work in that internship. Like, how does it work?
As an international student, you can work in an internship. You can get paid.
Okay.
It's part of our visa.
Good.
As university, for all their students, for Queen Mary and the Faculty of Law, they open internships within our uni. So pro bono case. So I did Queen Mary Legal Advice Center, where you still had to apply for it, but you got to work with different clients from different backgrounds who had different issues, so tackling different areas of law. That's part of the university. Anything outside of the university for firms, I wouldn't say the university itself has given much support or guidance regarding that, but societies that are student-led.
Yeah, the ones that are driven
they're the ones.
and being,
they're the ones who host events. They're the ones who
network,
who go to they're like career fair now, like we should go and all these things. So it's mainly your peers that will keep you.
So that's why it's very important to get engaged in this kind of association in clubs. So they're going to know it's better to try to get to that law firm, to get that internship there, if you want to access this and that.
But also another point about being in London is, even if you go to Queen Mary, you're still able to attend career fairs at other universities, like LSE, King's, UCL, whatever it is. So that is another positive about being in London. Yeah,
and being part of the network of the University of London universities. All right, great. So what do you think you're going to do in the next year?
The plan now is to sit the SQE.
Right away? So when?
So after I received my grades in July, I would have already...
Yes, right away?
No. So you can either go to University of Law or BPP Law in multiple locations across the UK. I'm specifically focusing on London. And within that, it's a 1-year course. I have the option to do a combined master's with it, which is a master's in law practice. So I'm still deciding on whether I should do a combined master's, but I know for a fact that I would like to sit the SQE. So these universities give you courses and they basically teach you on strategy and how to...
That test. Isn't it a tough, difficult test?
The pass rate is 51% of people who take the test pass.
51?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
So half don't get it.
Yeah.
Can you take it again?
You can.
Okay.
You can take it again. But a thing to note about training contracts is that if you have a training contract, say at a very high firm, such as Clifford Chance, I have heard that if you fail the SQE, you can get that pulled away from you.
You could lose your... Okay.
So...
Yeah, so you have to make sure you know what you're doing there.
But if you're a law student, you can pass. It's okay.
Okay. And then if you get registered in the UK as a solicitor, can you practice in Singapore?
I can practice in Singapore, and I can practice in any international firm.
Anywhere in the world, as long as you are
qualified. To work in a local firm, however, I would have to sit one exam.
A local exam. Or,
But it's not as... So for me, it's more beneficial to get my certificate in London and then go back rather than go back to Singapore and taking 2 separate exams with completely different laws. Well, not completely, but
Yeah. So. No, exactly. So here was common law.
Yeah.
And in France, we have different law. For example, civil law, like in Quebec, and then the rest of North America is common law. So that's also good to look at. All right. I think we're getting close to the end. Thank you so much. Anything else you would want to say to grade 10, grade 11, grade 12 students that would be thinking about law? Any regrets? Anything you would have done differently? Any tips you would want to give?
Prepare for the LNAT.
If you want to go to a top UK.
If you want to go to a top UK university, prepare for the LNAT and
sacrifice your summer.
Sacrifice your summer a little bit, but also have a bit of fun. But prepare for the LNAT. Do your research on the university, because for law specifically, different unis offer different modules, optional modules. So make sure that you know which unis are doing what. Did
you see students just dropping out in the first year?
Yeah.
Yeah?
A lot.
Yeah?
Or changing course.
Or just...
I think I knew about 3 people who changed course and changed university because in QM they didn't have space.
And so in the UK, usually you start back from...
You have to retake.
You can't transfer credit, so it's difficult.
Yeah. Transferring within law itself is...
It's possible?
It's possible, but you would need a first class in your first year.
Okay. So you need top grades right away.
Yeah.
And usually you wouldn't want to transfer then, or...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Thank you for having me.
Good. All right. It was a pleasure having you, Micaela, and seeing you again after 2 years.
I know.
Right? 2.5 years, almost 3 years. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on this episode podcast of Anywhere Uni, and we'll see you on the next one.